What's up guys, Shane from Fugatech 3D Printing, and today I'm going to show you how to do some DIY NeoPixels for your kid's bedroom. Haha! Alright guys, so welcome back. I have everything here that I think I need to use to create this project. I think this is everything. So it's kind of going to go over the part list of what we need to do. I'm going to tell you what I tried to do first and I failed, and just for the sake of wanting to get this project done and up, I had to kind of take a shortcut, which I found a great YouTube video that taught me how to do that. You have to sacrifice a little bit, but I'll get more into that in a minute. So let's go over the parts I have, what I tried and didn't work out, and then how I got it to end up finally working the way I wanted it to. Alright, so you're going to need some simple tools like a soldering station. Anyone like this will work. This is just a cheaper Weller one. I've had this for years now. It's been working great for me. Variable temperature. I like it. You're going to need some solder. We're going to need something to help you do soldering. So this is a helping hand that I've got again years ago on Amazon. This is just the very cheap two-handle one. I put some shrink tubing on the alligator clips so they don't damage things as much because they are really, really tight. So that kind of helps preserve what the things you're making. We're gonna need some white filament of some sort, any whatever your favorite flavor is or whatever your favorite manufacturer is. Just try to get one full spool and only use it for this project. I did not do that, so I'm hoping that my results are not getting mixed. But I do have some in a little more translucent white than what the other ones I started with, because I didn't start with a full roll. I had two of them mess up on me, so that's kind of a problem right there. Obviously, because you need filament, you need a 3D printer to make this happen. So I did all this printing on the Ender 3 Pro with the magnetic flex bed, and I'll show you the results from that. You're also going to need a heat gun, which I have mine down here. So I use a heat gun, a hair dryer, or a lighter will work out just fine as well. That way you can shrink the heat tubing down. You are going to need a little bit of shrink tubing, so we can get that. I had bought a giant pack off Amazon that I've been using for years now, and again, it's been great for me. I like it. We're going to need some of these. These are the 3-wire LED jumpers. So you're going to need these for what we need next is LED strips. So these are the ones that I am using. These are high density for what they are. These are the WS2811s, I believe they are. I'll correct myself on the screen if I said that wrong. But you're gonna need those. I've got a bunch of those. And to do my little cheat, you're gonna need one of these. These are LED Dream Color controllers. It's a little wireless controller that comes with a remote. So it works specifically with these LEDs. There are other ones for other LEDs you might use, but this is the one that I'm using for this setup in particular. So you need the filament in order to print out this hexagon, and this STL will be linked below. I did resize it, so I'll actually put in the comments the size that I used on it, or I'll end up doing upload a make or something like that. Now with this model, you have to be a little bit careful about making it because you need an absolute perfect first layer. An absolute perfect one, because this first layer is the face of the hexagon, because it prints upside down like this, so you can put all your electronics in the back. The face has to be perfect. I have two here that are less than stellar. And I think I always recommend going for a perfect first layer, but we're gonna see if I have two here that are messed up, if it makes a difference whether you have a perfect first layer or not. So we will need to figure that out, and I'll be able to do that. You're going to need a hot glue gun probably, because I have already made this. I've already been testing. I've showed it on my social media. I wanted to see if it would work, and I've been working on this for probably about 4 days now, and I'm just finally doing the recording, so I'm going to walk you through what I've done and things like that. But in order to get these, the LEDs are already starting to unstick from the PLA plastic. So I'm going to hit them with a little bit of hot glue to kind of tack them on there in certain places, and I think they'll be okay. Push comes to shove, I'll get some other glue in there, some super glue or something, squirt it under, and push the LEDs back on and super glue it to the PLA plastic. Can do that as well. So for the very basic version that I'm going to make today, that is the list of everything you need, and that will be down below. Now let's go over what I was actually trying to do. I was trying to make this programmable with a ESP WS2811 little itty bitty Arduino. I found several great videos on it just kind of working for them. I could not get it to work. So there was a NerdForge, is the one that really caught my eye. I saw their video. The way he did it, I'm like, man, that was easy. I can do that. Not really. I don't know if it's because I bought literally everything exactly from his video description to include the controller, and it will not work one way or another. There's nothing I can do. I will put a link down below. Because what I want is I want someone to tell me how to make this work with the electronics, because then I can make it programmable. And these LEDs that we're using are addressable LEDs, which means you can tell them what to do in different lengths. It doesn't matter how many are there. You can set each length and tell it what to do, as long as you keep them in order, and they will do what you want them to, which is fantastic and cool, and it doesn't freaking work. I spent 2 very late nights till literally from 8:30, kids are in bed, to about 2:30 in the morning, 2 nights back to back, racking my head on this. I tried with an ESP32 and an ESP8266. Neither of them would work. I tried it with and without a logic level shifter, which he said you're supposed to use. Didn't work for me either. I tried without it. I tried finding a bunch of other videos that were doing it, and they were able to get it working, but I couldn't. I tried with Arduino Nano, and it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm not in Arduino very much at all. I don't really play with it aside from programming 3D printers, so I don't really write my own code. So I'm kind of relying on other people's projects to kind of get me through the coding part of this to make it work. I couldn't get it. But just so you know, the hardware list that I was using an ESP32 or an ESP8266. I've tried both. A logic level shifter, so that is soldered right there. I also used a DC to DC voltage adapter to take from 12 volts down to 5 volts. I needed to do that. And I was still using some of the connectors for the LEDs. That's it. It's super simple. It's 3 pieces, and I see how people do it with just 1. Why can't I get it? I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm using cheap Chinese electronics. I mean, these were super cheap in comparison to getting off at Adafruit or something like that. Maybe that's my problem, but I would love it if someone could tell me what I'm doing wrong in order to get this programmable. And I was trying to get it to work with Blink. Very cool app. You can set buttons and you can change everything on the app. It's so freaking cool. But it does not work whatsoever. And that made me angry. So we're gonna go with the simple version of this, and that's how we're gonna be using this little controller that hooks right onto it, and it actually does look pretty cool. So let's build some of these, and we'll see the end results, which I guess you saw if you saw the opening to this video. But anyways, let's build some of these and go from there. All right, now let's talk about the trick that I saw, and I will link his video below. I forget the guy that made it. He actually didn't have any audio in it. He just kind of did a video and did text over it. But it was fantastic. So what you do is you get the LED strip and you get your little adapter here. We're going to string out an arm length. And we're going to connect our converter. Oh, of course I did forget hardware. You're going to need a AC to DC power supply. This is a 12 volt 5 amp. If you can get a little more amperage out of it, great. That means you'll be able to put more LEDs on, but you need to be at least, for this project, 12 volt 5 amps, and it'll work for you. All right, so we're going to use the power supply that I just forgot about, and we're going to plug that in, and the LEDs turn on, and they look cool. They're flashing. But that's not the mode we want. We need to use this to go through the modes to get to a very specific one. This one. So it is the white LEDs that kind of go in ascending mode. They start at one point and they end at another point. This is what we want right here. Because this right here, this is one length of LEDs. This is one complete circuit of it. And if I take that point and I go through here, I string out a little bit more, it meets at the exact same place as this one. They're just going opposite. So this is how many LEDs you need to keep the LEDs to look, or to keep the hexagons looking the same. Now this is bigger than what fits in the hexagon, but it still looks okay. You could upsize these more. I shrunk it down so that it would properly fit on a standard 3D printer. So the Ender 3 Pro is a standard size. But that's what I had to do in order to make this work out properly. So you need to kind of just annotate where you're going to do that, and you can do it with a piece of tape, which that's probably the easiest thing. Just get a piece of tape and mark where you need to do your cuts. I need to cut 3 or 4 more of these, so I'm going to measure out that now. I'm going to get a piece of tape and make my cuts so that I can cut my LEDs to size. So I'm just going to use a little piece of this hot pink gaffer's tape, and again, we are looking for when the LED starts. So this is where it starts right here. So I'm going to mark right there, as that's going to be my cut. And then we're going to go down. We find the next one, which is right here. That's where it starts. Put another piece of tape. I'll probably cut a few more lengths of this just to have it, because I don't know when I will. How many of these am I going to end up making? I think I'm going to end up having 8. Is what I want to have. I think I have 9 here, but they don't all work. Whew, that's bright. I did screw up on the first one. I didn't realize this technique until after I'd already started building these with electronics. So if we look, we can get 1, 2, 3, 4. A piece of tape came off. Okay, you can get 5, 6 out of one length. So it's 5 meters. You can get 6, which isn't too bad. So you can make 6 hexagons. So if you want to do more than that, you need to get 2 spools of the LEDs, so you get 12 out of that. I do not think, though, a 5 amp power supply can push 2 full lengths of this. I'm pretty sure it can't. Might be able to get some of it, but not all of it. But that's okay. So I'm going to get my scissors here, and these are real simple if you've never done these before. These LED strips, again, where the copper pads are. So this is one where we need to cut. Take a piece of scissors and just cut straight down the white line, and that's it. You have your new length of LEDs. Got a little bit left over, just throw that to the side. All right, so this one, where we need to do it, it actually is soldered together. So we're gonna need to desolder this in order to get it apart, which is very simple. We'll take our soldering iron after we heat it up, and we'll be able to pull that right off. I'm gonna pull that off using a solder sucker. This one literally is probably older than I am. It's my dad's, he gave it to me. A lot of my tools I started out getting from my dad. And that's kind of where making starts, is a parent, I'm not to say dad, it could be a mom, but a parent teaching their child on how to make things. I try to teach my kids, but you can use a lot of other things to get this off. You might be able to just like flick it to the side and get it off. Use a piece of paper towel, don't hurt yourself. A solder sucker is the proper way, or a solder wick is another proper way to do it. That is a copper wick that you kind of lay on here, heat it up, and the solder will be absorbed into the wick. But again, a solder sucker for me will work. We're going to set this up properly with our helping hands. So that is how that should be set up right there. So we have our link somewhere between the 2 hands. That's keeping it nice and steady. They have a good hold on it. And I don't need the magnifying glass because I'm not that old. I will say this is not a how to solder tutorial. There's plenty of people out there way smarter than I am who do this for a living that can teach you. I'm just going to show you what works for me and go from there. So now that solder is gone, we can just take our scissors and we can now cut that. All right, so now for the tedious part. It's probably going to take me 20 minutes or half an hour to do this. We need to solder on our connector. These are the best thing to use because that's what they're made for. They do have some like clip-on ones, but soldering 3 of these on with a little bit of heat shrink tubing is not hard at all. Works out well, so that's what I'm going to do. But you need to remember your ins and outs. So I have it as, let me verify, yes, okay. So my in is this male plug, and my out is going to be a female plug right here. You need to know that so that you can connect all these together the same way. No matter what way you put them, they all can just be linked together. So you have to make sure you do your ins and outs the same way. You also need to watch, because if you look on the LED strip, we can see right here, there are arrows. So this is going out, so it's going out the end, and this is coming in. So this is going to get the male, and this is going to get the female. I'm sorry if male and female triggers anybody, but that is how you designate a different types of sockets. So I'm sorry, but that's how it is. All right, so here's all mine. Again, I already have 4 done. I'm going to do 4 more to give me 8. So I'll definitely go ahead and do this one because it's already soldered and ready to go. So I will do 3 more, and I will put 2 to the side that are complete lengths, so that if I want to add more on later, if I get a bigger power supply, again, that's my problem, is I don't think my power supply can run all of these And I also don't know if my hexes will work. But either way, I will have these set to the side to be able to use later. So I'll show you how I put this together, and then I'm going to go ahead and do them all. Again, this is not a tutorial, but at least you have an idea of how I'm doing it. So one trick I did discover is that if you have a piece of shrink tubing that's not quite big enough on one side, put it in a piece of scissors and stretch it just a smidge. That'll widen that out just a little bit more so that it can fit over what you need. I don't know if that's like against electrical code or anything, but we're dealing with 12 volts here. It's not high voltage, it's small, so low voltage stuff, I think this will be just fine. But just do that just a smidge. That widens the one end. That way we have an easier time trying to get it over the very end of this LED strip, because regularly it won't fit. If you have something that fits better, great. But again, for me, that's what's going to work out well. All right, so this one is the out. I'm going to clip on the last LED. That gives me the most leverage on the actual strip here. We're going to get our soldering iron and our solder, put a little bit on the iron, and then we're just going to touch each of these pads and put a small dollop on there. Get our connector and our slightly stretched out piece, put that in, and then you just have to follow your markings. So on this cable, white is ground, green is your data, so the D, and your red is your 12 volts. And on here it reads ground DO, which is data out. The other side will be DI, data in. And then here we have 12 volts. So I'm just going to flip this like this, tack that right on there, and we're good to go. So it should look something like that. And then we're just going to peel back the sticky just a little bit on the back side here. Slide our shrink tubing up, just so we cover all the way up to just that first LED right there. And now hit that with the heat gun, or again, or a hairdryer, or a little flame from a lighter. Shrink that down and we'll be perfect. There it is. Now that's one done and 3 more to go for me. So a quick reminder here to check out the video sponsor, which is Honey. Honey is a free app that you can install in your browser. I use Chrome and it works out fantastic. What Honey does is it scans all coupon codes for a site that you're on, and it will give you the best one that you can. Now for example, using something like these, and I've actually entered some of my coupon codes into Honey, so they have been readily available for people to use and get discounts on things like filaments or electronics at other websites. Honey also adds things to what's called your drop list, and your drop list stays for 60 days. So if you have something in your Amazon cart, it will watch it for 60 days, and it would tell you when the absolute best price hits, and you can go ahead and hit that buy button really quick, and it really helps out. So if you want to save a couple bucks when you're shopping on any website on the internet, click on the link in the video description and join Honey, have it installed, and you're off to saving money. All right, so with that, I have 4 more strips here ready to go. I'm going to clean up my workspace here just a smidge, and we will look and see how they look inside ones that I've already done and the other PLA filament, which I'm not sure it's going to work out, but we'll find out. And buying some of these packs of things, you'll have plenty of material left over to create other projects or to expand this project if you choose to in the future. So I have 2 here. You can see this one's a little bit of a darker white. This one's more of like a bright white. This is what everything else is printed out. This is a pretty translucent PLA. All right, so when I flip it over, this is what we're greeted with. I should probably change the color because on camera that doesn't look so fantastic. There we go. So we can see how it does that change. And you can see here the LED is flopped down a little bit. So I'm trying to feign that. So the only thing about doing it this way is you do have a little bit of extra right here. You can see it's kind of doubled over, but it's kind of accentuated on the camera. It's not as noticeable in person. I think it'll be okay for the purpose of what I'm trying to do here. But it's really only in that mode. If we change some modes here a little bit more, see, it's not as noticeable that way. But either way, that's how it looks with that one. So let's disconnect this. Let's get this other one here. So this is a good one, and I'll wire it up the same, wrap it in the same way as the other one. I'm not gonna paste it in or stick it in yet. It's definitely a lot more transparent. You can actually see the more individual LEDs in here, which is not what I was going for really. You see the LEDs a lot more in there. So not going to be happy with these ones. So you need to find a really an opaque white, a really opaque white in order to make this work out well, because you're using that first layer here to really show it off. So I'm not happy with it. I will probably use them for now just so I can get this up, but it's definitely not what I'm going to keep. Or maybe I'll just set up these, there are 4 ready to go right now, maybe 5. Okay, here's a less than stellar one. I guess you can see a little bit right here, the rippling you see through there. So this was actually printed too hot. I didn't adjust my temperature when I first started these, and it was set for a different flavor of filament. And way too hot for this. This filament only needed to be printed at 210. I had it set at 230. That's why there's some rippling in the bottom, and I didn't catch it on this one. So I would have had enough if I wouldn't have wasted this. But let's see how it looks in here. So you definitely can see the ripples in there, and that's not very good. That's pretty unsightly. So these are a bust. This is kind of why you really need to have that perfect first layer. See the rippling in there? See how clearly you can see that? Especially if I put that down and we have the light from the background shining through it even more. You can really, I can really see that. It's really hard to show it on camera, but that is not going to work out at all. This one's good, and this one's no good. So we're going to have 5 that I like, and a few, and 2 that I'm not. So we're going to end up doing 7. And maybe I'll use one of those just to make it a complete 8 for now, because I have no other white filament that is truly opaque. Now I'll show you how I'm going to put the LEDs inside of here. Alright, so we have our square, and we have our LEDs. So we're going to pull off the backing, and we're going to start with the incoming, and just put it, kind of just start it anywhere. They're not going to line up perfectly because of the size of this, but that's okay. And we're just going to put it around in there, getting it stuck to the walls as best as you can, but making sure that it is in there tight along the wall. We don't want any gaps, because you can see the gaps. If there's any gap between where the LED sits and the wall, you need to make sure it's really tight against there. I mean, I kind of like this model and I kind of don't like this model. I don't know, maybe I'll model my own and put it down below for you guys, but either way, this one will definitely be down there. And when you get down here, you kind of got to go a little bit below it, and that's where it's going to have, it's going to be doubled up there. And that is just because of the technique that I used to make this happen. That's how it has to go. So now I have a hot glue gun, the glue gun, and what do I need to do here is I need to tack down right here and on the outbound, and then I might put a couple strips just through a few places where it's not over LEDs, just to kind of help them stay in there, because they are flopping a little bit on ones that I've already assembled here. You can see that there is space where the LED was stuck to. It's no longer stuck there. So that's the next portion of this video, is a lot of hot gluing. We'll say this hot glue gun is my new favorite thing because it is cordless. It's just powered Ryobi. It heats up really well. Love it. It's super awesome. All right, so I've got 7 of these ready. 5 of them are perfect. They're what they should be. They're great. I love them. These 2 are not. These 2 have the kind of bad first layer, which gives it a bad front to it. So I'm going to end up reprinting these when I get some more opaque white filament, which is on its way. But for now, like I said, we're going to keep this going. It's late at night though, so I can't install this tonight, but I'm going to take a quick break for me. You guys will still be here like that. But yeah, I'm going to print the tabs in order to hold these up, which I'm going to super glue those in, and some of them will, some of them I won't. That'll help interlock these and keep them nice and tight, and that will give me a surface to add some double-sided tape, be able to stick these on the wall. That makes it easier to take it off, and you can just use kind of a razor blade and scrape it off the wall without actually screwing these on. I don't want to do that right now. So I'm right back with the prints, and we'll be upstairs, and we'll get these installed in the kids' room. Alright, so here it is fully assembled, and what I did was I went ahead and printed out all the little clips, so I put those in there to connect all the hexagons, and then he used some, these actually have holes in them for screws. I didn't want to do that, so I'm just going to use some double-sided foam tape. That will also help with the fact that there's no way to route the cables any good way. So that'd be one thing to try and change in this model if someone else decides to remix it, is figure out a way how to get these cables to go kind of through the model instead of being underneath, but the foam tape should solve that. But again, here it is all together. Let's get up on the wall. Alright, so it's all wired up, and this is our receiver right here. So I have the transmitter, which is just the little remote. You can hit this and change all the settings. For now, I'm gonna leave it here. I might end up trying to slip it up inside just to be able to hide this part away and part of the wire. And I'm gonna go use a piece of Panduit, run down and run it over just so the kids don't want to like play with the cabling. I don't want anybody to pull this down either. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that in a few minutes. So another thing you can do is that if your power supply is a lot further away than where you have these mounted, this 3-wire kit that you purchased that I used for this actually comes with about 20 meters of the cabling. So all you have to do is just basically make a very, very long extension cable, and you can hide this away someplace else if you want to do something. So I also could run it all the way down, just go across the wall here and hide that away, and no one would ever know it was there. Are you guys ready? Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. They like it. I think it was a pretty good success. So if you want to check it out, there'll be links in the video description on how you guys can do this yourself. And again, if anyone wants to help me out getting this automated with an Arduino, I'd love to hear from you guys. It's so weird. Alright, if you guys want to stay in tune with what's going on, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon to get an email notification when I upload new content. Other ways you can help out, become a patron. Down below, donate me $1, get the access to my after show. You guys can help out make projects just like this. Other ways you can do it, there's one-time donation links and some affiliate links down below for everything that you can get from this video. Check those out, save yourself some money with some coupons. I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, happy printing.